So this is basically what I shared on the tutorial video for this homework assignment. And I've gone kind of through how I set it up. Were you able to look at that video and see kind of the steps that I went through to set it up? Okay. Did you have any questions about that process? Hello. Hi, Tori. Yeah, so for homework 9, you are setting up a website. So you create a web page, and then you create a CSS style sheet to go with it. So that really you're designing one web page for your site, and then you can use the CSS styles to maintain uniformity throughout the site. So you're not really having to do too much design layout for each page, but you're mainly designing one page and then applying the styles for that page to additional pages. So you can use a template, or you can just save over your first page and use that same CSS style sheet. So the previous assignments, you already had a CSS style sheet that was designed for you, like in homework 7 with the typography and the color chapter. And then you just attach that style sheet, and you had to add the tags, the section tags, and so forth. But you didn't have to design the style sheet from scratch. So in this assignment is the first assignment when you are designing the style sheet. So if I go to, well, let's see, let me just go to my style sheet here. You can look at my CSS style sheet and then the code. Move that over. So I have my header tag. So you learned already how to wrap a header section around an element. So I've wrapped the header section tag around my logo, and then I've created a CSS style for the header. So it's set at a width of 950 pixels, and it's got this padding and margin set to it. Then for my navigation tag, I've got all of these properties assigned to this nav tag that's wrapped around this section. Then I have my main section with all of these properties added to it. And then I've got some other ID select, some other class selectors. And if you look in my CSS designer panel, you can see that my club CSS style sheet is attached. And then I have my header selector, my nav main tags, ID selectors, and then class selector. And then each selector has these properties. If I click on show, you can see all the properties. So you can look at it in the CSS designer pane. You can also look at it in the code view. And since I've kind of gone over how to set that up in the tutorial video, I wanted to see like what specific questions you have, like where you are in the process, or where you may have a question in the process, like how far have you gotten? Were you able to set up a CSS style sheet, but then were you having problems with the selectors or having problems attaching it? What kind of issues might you be having right now? And you can text if you prefer to text your questions, you can do that. Either way. Let me look at, so use CSS. So I'm still using design in live view. Pull this out here. So right now I'm in design view, and I can switch to live view just to get a better view of how it will look in the browser. But I'm still working in design view and then switching back and forth from design to live, and in split view so that I can see my code. I can see the source code for this particular page, and then the CSS style sheet, that's the code that's going to be applied to the CSS style sheet across every page. So that once I attach that to every page, it will appear. So the source code is just for this club.html page. But if I open up, let's say, the development HTML page, I have the code, the source code for this page, and then I also have the CSS style sheet code that's attached to it. So now I have kind of two sets of code, the one for this particular page and then one for the CSS style sheet. So how do you, so if you created a CSS style sheet through the code, how do you attach and apply it? So you would switch here where you see the files panel is open. I'm going to switch to CSS designer panel and then click on this plus button to attach an existing CSS file. So if you've already created a CSS style sheet, you can attach it here. What I did was I just added it by selecting create a new CSS file. And then I called it club CSS. And then as I'm designing the page, my styles will be added to the club.css style sheet. But you can also attach one that's already created. So if I started with club.html and then I added this club.css sheet, then I added the header element and some of these other sections and all these properties and save that. Then if I create a new page, this development.html page, I can add that same club.css style sheet to it. Yeah, so to create the CSS style sheet, you can just do it really without using a whole lot of code. So let me switch back to my files panel, and I have this club test.html page that I created, and then I just use the CSS designer panel to create this club test CSS sheet. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new HTML page. And I'm just going to call this new club. So now I've got a blank page. I'm in design view under split view, and I'm in the files panel, and I can insert something here. So let's say I want to insert the logo into my header. Then I'm going to use the insert panel and insert, I'm just going to insert a header here at the insertion point. And then I want to insert an image. And I'm going to select under my images. Oops, I don't want to select from there. I want to select this club logo PNG. So I'm going to open that and select it. And it's just telling me I need to save this. And then I'm going to delete my placeholder text. So now in my code, I can review. I didn't really use code to do that. I just used the insert panel, but I can look at the code to understand what's happening. So I've got my header tag because I selected an HTML header using my insert panel. Then within that header tag, I have this club logo PNG file that's inside my header tag. And then I can use properties to format this. So I can use the CSS designer, and here I'm going to now add or create a new CSS file. So under CSS Designer, I've used the Add CSS Source button. Select Create a New CSS File, and I'm going to name this New Club Styles. Add it as a link. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to save it into my root folder. I could save it in a CSS folder, but wherever you save it, just don't move it, after you've saved it. So let's say I want to save it in the CSS folder. I could do that, and then I can save it here as New Club Styles. Actually, that's a Bootstrap folder. I'm just going to save it directly in my club root folder. And then click on OK. And then I can use my selector. So now I've got a CSS style sheet created, and I'm going to add a selector to that style sheet. So the first thing is I'm going to use my header tag, and I want to select the header and then uncheck Show Set and use Properties. And I'm in the Layout part of Properties. And I can set margins. I can select auto margins to center the margins, and then I can select text and center the alignment. And so now I've just added some properties to my header tag, and that will be saved in my source code. So in my CSS code. So you can look at my CSS file. I have the header, and then I've got auto, margin, left and right, text align, center. Then I can save this CSS file as well as my web page, my HTML page. If I go to File, Save All, it will save both of those files. And then I'm going to save my HTML page as New Club. I'm saving it in my root folder. So I'm going to just close those other files I had open. So I've got this New Club HTML page, and then I have my New Club Style CSS sheet. So you can look at the code. You can look at the code for both the HTML page and the CSS style sheet. And then you can also look at the selectors and the properties. And you can use that DOM.
Hey.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. I was
Okay.
talking
Okay. Yeah, so, and jump in if you have any questions at any time, feel free to jump in.
Sorry. Yeah. I didn't realize my mic was on. Sorry. I'm trying. I created the new CSS, and I have the logo in the header. I just kind of didn't really understand like formatting it in the center and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, does this
Yeah.
help a little bit just seeing it on the screen?
Yeah.
Now you
I
can,
honestly got on just to like hear the questions and kind of follow along because I watched the tutorial. It was just a little fast for me, and so
okay,
I'm gonna have to watch it again and go slower, but I'm just kind of following along.
sure, that's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, so just to review a little bit, and y'all have done the adding the header tags and different tags using the insert panel. And now what we're doing is we're adding properties to those sections. So
Right.
yeah, so for the header section, then after you create your CSS style sheet, then you can add your header, and then you can add the properties using these different areas in the properties pane. You can add color, margins, and padding, and then play around with the alignment and display and box sizing and all that. Float things to the left or to the right.
Okay.
But for this, I'm just going to keep this simple. You could also resize this if I wanted to make this a little bit smaller. I can keep my constraints on, and let's say I want to reduce the width to 700 pixels. then I can make it 700 pixels wide.
Okay.
So I think I've got another question. So to manage your sites so that you can see your server settings, I go to the Files panel and scroll down to Manage Sites. And then here is where you can import the site file and you can create a new site. So if I wanted to delete this, I'm just going to save this new HTML page for now. Okay, the asterisk should disappear. There we go. I'm going to close this. And now I want to go to Manage Sites. And I've already exported this before and I named it, but if I wanted to export the site file, I would click on this export button and then name it. So I've named it K Club. And then it saves it as an STE file, and I'm saving it in my club root folder. And you can see that it's already there. So since I've already done that, I can just delete this from my Dreamweaver site panel because I've already exported it. So if I delete this, it says I can't undo, that's okay, I'm going to click yes. So then now that site is gone, I can import a different file. So I can import this ATC file, and then it'll bring up the root folder for the ATC site. Now let's say I want to access my club site back. So I'll go back to Manage Sites, and then I'm going to click the Import button and look for that K Club STE file. So if I select that STE site file and click Open, it will automatically upload that root folder. If I click Done, I can expand this folder, and then here is my root folder, and all my files in the root folder appear in my Files panel. So that's an easy way to manage your site. Does that make sense, or does that help answer the question? And so you want to make sure that you keep all your files in that root folder and you're saving any new files in that root folder. If you don't, it's not going to appear in your site. So that now if I've completed this site, I can go back to my desktop and look for that root folder in my WIP folder. Here's my club root folder. All my site files, including my HTML, CSS style sheets, any fonts or images and templates are all in that root folder. And then I can do that control right click and compress that entire root folder and submit that entire folder or that entire file to As You Learn to submit it. Then what I do is when I receive this file, I'm just going to drag this onto my desktop. I will unzip it or expand it, and then it's going to expand it to the root folder that should look exactly like it did when you compressed it. Then I can go to Dreamweaver and I can create a new site for it. So let's say I don't have, well, if you've got your STE site file already in there, then I can just import that. So now if I'm back in Dreamweaver, I can just go to Manage Sites and import, look for your root folder on my desktop, and then look for that STE site file, which notice I've got two because I did a previous one, but then I can just open that up. It's telling me that it already exists, but that's how I would import it. So now I can go back and open up that new club HTML page. Okay, so there's a question about setting up your server, it looks like, or setting up your site to the ASU server. So you want to make sure that everything on your ASU server is linked to your index.html page. because you only get one index page for the ASU server. That's why you want to, I'm going to close this out and open up another site. So I'm going to open up this portfolio site and then open up my index.html page here. So this is my index page. I have this link to my ASU server, to my URL, and this is the index page to my site. So for you, it'll be your index page to your entire sites, all of your sites for this class. So right now you just have you have an introduction, you've got the text formatting and hyperlinks, and you have the image maps link. Then you're going to link your ePortfolio and your professional site and your responsive site, and that one is optional if you want to link it to your URL. But really, you're going to have 3 final sites, and you're going to link each one of them on your index page. So if I have an ePortfolio, let's say I'm going to go to File, New, and create a new page. And this is going to be my ePortfolio page. So I'm just going to call this K's Portfolio. And then I'm going to save this as K Portfolio. And make sure that you save it in the root folder. So it has to be saved in that same folder. And then if I save it here, I can see, I'm sorry, I've got a lot of pages on here, but I should be able to see, here's the K Portfolio HTML page. So if I go back to my index page, I can link that ePortfolio text to the K Portfolio HTML page. And then I can put a link on this page back to the index page. And then link this back to index.html. Okay, so if you've done that, so you're adding a link. So let's say this is your personal ePortfolio page. You've added this link. Then you want to upload it to the server. So to make sure it's linked to your index.html page, you just want to check your properties panel and make sure that the name is exactly the same. So if you have any misspelling or any change, the server's not going to be able to find it. It's not that smart. So it's just going to look for exactly what you've typed in. So if you type in index.html, and that's exactly how you have it spelled. So make sure you don't capitalize index.html. It has to be exactly like this. Then when you link it, make sure it's linked, that if you type it in, it's typed the same way. So if you link it that way and it's all in your root folder and it's directly in your root folder, it's not nested in another folder or anything, it should be linked. So here, ePortfolio is linked to K Portfolio. It's right there. I pointed it using my point to file button in the browser, so that should work. Once I've saved everything, now it's a matter of uploading it to the server. So after you define your server, so you want to come into the Define Server button and type in @state, then type connect using SFTP, then type in www.appstate.edu, type in your username and password. And then for your root directory, you want to type in public_HTML. Then type in, I'm going to replace the public HTML with the first letter of my last name, / and then my whole username. And then save that. And it's saying that some synchronization is not going to work because I have a lot of stuff that's set up to my folder. But what you would do is go ahead and connect. Then you would go to View, expand files panel. And then once you connect to your server, then you'll see the up arrow and the down arrow. If you click on the up arrow, you can select individual files to upload to your remote server. So this is your local root folder, and this is your remote root folder. So you want to upload. So if you want to synchronize it, there's a button that looks like a circle. If you click on the synchronize button, it will synchronize both sides, your remote root folder and your local root folder, so that they will look identical. So if you click the synchronize button, it's going to move everything on the right side on your local folder to your remote server. And that's how you can ensure that it's going to be uploaded to your URL address. And then it'll move all of these files over, and it should be linked. And then if you want to download a file, you can select a file on the remote server, click on the down arrow, and then it'll download it back to your local root folder side. Does that help answer the question about linking and about the connection and managing your sites? Okay, great. I'm going to close this. Actually, so that's how you can manage your site. I kind of went over homework 9 on the notes. Remember that the club site, homework 9, doesn't need to be added to your URL. For that homework assignment, you just want to submit that, compress that root folder and just submit it so I can check it in Dreamweaver. That does not need to be submitted on the URL. So for your URL right now, all you need is the introduction, image maps, and text and formatting and hyperlinks. Then when we get to the final sites, you can redesign this index page if you want to make it look more interesting. I have a portfolio index.html page that I reformatted. And if you look at it in live view, you can see it's still just a list of links, but I just added like a header and an image there. So you can always reformat that later when you get to the final project stage. But it's really just a table of contents index page so you can link your other sites to it. Are there any other questions about the homework assignment or anything specific that you've run into? Again, you can text any questions here under the chat. Okay, I'm going to pull up. Yeah.
Hey, it's Quinn. I was trying to do when I had tried to put up my last assignment, it wasn't working. You said I needed to like zip that together. The photo maps one, I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah. Okay, so the image maps one should be added as a URL. So it should be added as a link on your index page, and then as an image-map.html page.
Which one should I have on there right now? Because I just have text formatting and hyperlink and photo maps or image maps. Should I have another
that's
one?
all. Yeah, so let me just delete these so you don't get confused. So right now you just have text formatting and image maps and an introduction. You'll add these later for your final projects.
All right, cool. How do I upload that correctly then?
Okay, so
I added that image maps to my index page and then like have it go into the other page. So
great. So for the image maps, you don't have to submit the HTML pages. You don't actually have to submit that folder to me. It just needs to be linked on your index page. So what you would need to do is connect to the server like I did earlier. Then connect to the server, go to the options menu and go to View Expand Files panel. And then once you connect, you should have the option to upload your files to your server. So you want to click on the up arrow. And I'm not connected right now, so it's not showing up. But once you connect, you'll see the up arrow or the synchronize buttons. If you click on that,
Yeah, I clicked that.
okay, then it'll move the file over to the remote server. Then all you do is copy and paste that URL. So I'm just going to see if I can bring up your page right now. Yeah, so you've got image maps. Your image map page is not linked
All right.
correctly, so you may want to go back and check on that. But once it's linked, you just copy and paste this entire URL address and just submit that URL address. And so in the submission area or in the late section, you just copy and paste this address, and that's all you turn in.
All right. All right, cool.
Yeah, so just go back and check to see why it's not linked. Make sure that you check in the properties panel when you select the image maps text that it should be linked to the image map page.
The HTML page?
Yes. Yes, if I were to link
it says it is.
image maps, it should say under link, image maps, or whatever you have it named.
Yeah, photomap.html.
Do you have are you able to access your screen or share it?
Yeah, let me see if I can do that.
Yeah.
How do I do this?
So I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, that might be the move.
And then I think that you should be able to share yours. If you click on the share button.
Where's that? Oh, share. Desktop. All right.
Okay, great.
So, I have this up. This seems to be linked to this, which is this.
Okay.
So I did just redo it a minute ago, just with this though. That would be how you do that, right?
Yeah. Then
All
save
right.
it. So make sure that you save it and then upload it. So then click on the up arrow.
And now it should work, you're saying?
Yeah. Let me see if I can check that here.
There we go.
Yeah, looks like it's
You
working.
should go to my website. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So then just copy that address and put that in there?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I think that's all I'm good on.
Okay. And then were you able to get to the other homework assignments or any question about like homework 9?
No, I was working on that one. I was working on the museums one though, on accident instead of doing the regular one. So I'm about to do the regular one tonight. But if I have any questions, I'll email you.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. I think I'm good then.
Yeah, you're welcome to leave whenever you want.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, good to talk to you. Anybody else have any questions or anything they want me to look at? All right, Leah, looks like just you. So do you have any other questions or anything you'd like to talk about concerning the class? Okay, great. All right, well then, I guess I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting if there's no more questions and there's nothing left for us to cover right now. So I hope you have a good evening, and let me know if you get stuck on anything, but otherwise I'm going to go ahead and close off, and I'll see you in the next meeting.